being. They will not just be concerned as to the physical sense of safety, but it will go beyond that because the reality of the spiritual requirements will become evident. So man will begin to probe and search as to what is the spiritual nourishment that's required to feed the soul. The Prophet ﷺ was once asked, what is the food of the angels? He said, the food of the angels is remembrance of the Creator. The food of the angels is remembrance of Allah. So this is how one nourishes his spirit. For man is not just physical. As many of the ideologies and philosophies of Western civilization has reduced him to food, clothing, and shelter. But in reality, there is a spiritual need, there's a spiritual diet that man has to partake of to be healthy, to be balanced. And so again, Allah points out concerning it is remembrance of the Creator. Again, Islam is not enshrouded in mystery, as Allah is not a mysterious God. Allah is not a mysterious kind of Creator. He has given men evidence of His creation and evidence of Himself. So therefore, the way is straight and clear. So Allah says, speak unto them a word that is direct, that is clear. Take away all the mystery. Men have a propensity for enshrouding things in mystery because in doing so they can mislead. But Allah said it is evident and clear. Truth comes and falsehood is vanquished. Truth smashes the brains out of falsehood. So Allah gives you a program that begins to awaken within you and develop within you that spiritual sense of reality that enables you to have an understanding of the Creator. To have an understanding of how to be successful in struggle. Again, it all emanates from what is called the whole sense of Tawheed, the oneness, the belief in the oneness of the Creator. That He has no partners, He has no sons, He has no offspring. He says for Him to create was no more than to say, be, and it is. In other words, that whole sense of power that the Creator has to bring into being everything that we see, He had never lost or surrendered that power. He still possesses that power. So therefore, there's nothing that happens outside of the sphere in which the Creator has deemed it or has decreed it. So even in terms of prophecy that He has given us, the prophecy is to warn. The prophecy is to allow you an opportunity to have an understanding and a certainty as to the power of Allah. That through the years He has projected for you, and He shows you certain signs that have become evident. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ says in the last days, murder will be on the increase. He says, and the murdered will not know for what reason he was killed, nor will the murderer know for why he killed him. It will be a sign of the last day. Again, these are the prophecies in the days in which we live. We only need to look in terms of the newspaper or something current as to have a validation as to murder being on the increase. Murder indeed has become a rite of passage for some people. You see the young fellows out there gang banging and doing other things. It has become a rite of passage. Whereas in our day, they did with sports or football or basketball or doing these things. Now, to get juice, dudes say you got to be able to shoot or kill somebody. Murder, the Prophet said, will be one of the signs of the last days, that it will be on the increase. It says, in the last days there will be a rise of a figure, a character, in which he termed as the Dajjal, the Antichrist. It says that the Dajjal will have a kind of power in which he will be able to mislead, to deceive people. And again, in that whole sense of what we see being evident, when people begin to talk about the destruction of religion, this destruction of a way of life, because again, religion is no more than a way of life. And a way of life has to make sense. It's like everything else got to make sense. Religion got to make sense. So therefore, when you see a destruction of a religion, what it speaks of is the weakness in terms of the religion itself. If they're able to destroy it, if they're able to undermine it, it is because of the inherent weaknesses in it. It does not distinguish truth from falsehood. So therefore, also Allah again has given man a guidance that distinguishes right from wrong. The Quran itself was not something that was written on paper. It was that which was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ. And it was taken in and memorized. But Allah established a criteria concerning the Quran as to whether it will be clearly recognized. It says right stands out from wrong. The Prophet said that which is right is clear, that which is wrong is clear. Between them are doubtful things, so avoid the doubtful things. So therefore the standard will always be there, even if the book is absent. Even if man takes and deliberately changes the books in certain ways, then Allah ensures the Quran will be the same. Because the Quran deals with what is right. So therefore, in establishing and bringing oneself to the understanding on the level of being clean enough to partake of the food of Quran. We have a lot of people who feel that they're inspired. But again, it is the whole sense of Allah will not put clean water into a dirty vessel. You have to reach a level in terms of the purification by a practice. The problem with the revolution as it is termed today is that there's no program, and it's been reduced to smoke and mirror. We talk about by any means necessary, like that's a program. That ain't no program. What other means necessary? We shall overcome, like that's a program. That's not a program. Overcome what? How shall you overcome? Black by popular demand. It's not a program. What is the program that addresses itself to AIDS? That gives you the armor that guards you against the diseases, the socially and sexually transmittable diseases that takes you out and do you harm? What is a program that ensures you a protection against the ignorance that is predominant in society? What is the program that strengthens you so therefore when you begin to become in a state of jihad that you have the edge in your favor for winning or being successful? What's your program that does that? So Allah gives you a program. He says it emanates again from the belief that there is only one God and that He has given guidance. And that guidance deals with the example that has been set by the Prophet. Because again, when you look through the angles of history, you find out that the most successful revolution was the revolution that was conducted by the Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, who lived 1400 years ago in Arabia, where he took a people who were despised and lowly in terms of their nature, so much so that the abortion that we recall at the day, the Arabs, their form of abortion was killing the female child alive, or burying it alive. That's how sick these people were. These were the substance abusers in terms of alcohol and the different kinds of intoxicants in which they used to take. But within 23 years, the Prophet moved in from a peninsula known as Arabia to become the conquerors of the known world, based upon what? The belief that there is no God but one God. As it was in every situation where the prophets came who were successful. When Moses went to the Banu Israel, the children of Israel, his first command upon them was not to talk about arms or arming yourself. He says to turn your houses into places of worship and establish prayer. To turn your houses into places of worship and establish prayer. Because if you can't beat yourself, you can't beat nobody else. The Prophet ﷺ said a strong man is not he who is a good wrestler, but it is he who can control his anger. He who can control the emotions. He who can control his appetite. He who can control his passions. How do you learn to do that? What program teaches you to do that? Again, Allah says prayer 5 times a day. And people have been led and misled to believe that prayer is something insignificant, so much so that they malign and they make fun of making prayer, but that is a strengthening thing. Prophet Jesus pointed out concerning prayer, it is prayer that distinguishes belief from unbelief.